Before we get into this video real quick, I just want to tell you Darren uploaded a dog hunting video to the Florida Country Outdoors channel. Not a whole lot to it, but I may have shot at a couple, and anyway, I'll drop a link in the description for anybody that wants to watch that, and let's get into this video. So today I'm going to answer a few questions sent in by viewers. If you'd like to send a question in, just message it to me on Facebook Messenger. I'll check Instagram messages, or you can get my cell phone number by looking up Norwood Taxidermy in Plant City, Florida, and just text me the question. I may not reply to you immediately, but I'll get it and I'll get back with you. I'm gonna see how much time we have, but I'm gonna start with 2 questions, and we may do 3 today, we'll see, but I got quite a few questions today. So if you've got a question, send it in. And basically, if there's more questions, say I get 5 questions on one subject, I'll just pick one and go with it. But even if I don't want to do a video on it, it's not something I want to put in a video, then we'll have a conversation and I'll do my best to answer you. So this is the first question. It says, "Hey Derek, Tony here. I'm a retiree in Central Florida, originally from South Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania area. I've hunted all over and taken some decent bucks, both near home, bow, muzzleloader, and shotgun, mostly on private in South Jersey, as well as Wyoming, Missouri, Kentucky, and Saskatchewan." Looks like you've got around, Tony. "I've been scouting new public, new to me, in Central Florida. I've hunted blank management area and blank management area the past couple of years. Saw some decent bucks, but yet to shoot a good Florida buck. One WMA in particular has me a bit baffled. I just pulled cards on 4 regular SD card cameras that I set out in July and August. These areas had quite a number of historical rubs and at least 1 scrape. One area had over 25 rubs in about a 30-yard diameter area. Most were small to medium. Here's my dilemma. All I have on the 4 cards so far are mini does and spotted fawns and a couple of small spikes. No mature bucks so far. Like I do get in the other 2 management areas. As you know, this management area isn't nearly as thick as the other 2. Also, there are dozens of marked hiking trails everywhere. Some of my spots are pretty far in, but even then you really can't get too far from a hiking trail. My cameras are still out, and I have one down in a swamp that I haven't checked yet. How would you interpret this? Something made those rubs and scrapes and mated those does. Did the majority of the mature bucks in this management area get shot due to the open nature and accessibility of the management area? My thought is that they couldn't have all been harvested. These cameras are in 4 distinct areas. Only 2 are within 300 yards of each other. I wonder if mature bucks will show up into September and October as the pre-rut kicks in, or am I just wasting my time in this management area?" So he says, I'm a retiree, 70 years old, so he can hunt quota management areas that allow exemptions. So over 65, there's a lot of places he's allowed to hunt, which is nice for the older guys. So thanks for the question, Tony. I've said before, I do kind of stay away from the open management areas or easily accessible management areas if I'm looking for bigger bucks. To kind of answer your theory on you said, how would you interpret this? Something made those rubs and scrapes and mated those does. I mean, obviously, but do the majority of the bucks get shot here due to the open nature and accessibility of the management area? And that is absolutely what happens in this particular management area. They have the muzzleloader season in October. I believe it's a 3-day season, and I don't want to say the number of bucks that get killed. A lot of people know which management area I'm talking about, but it's like 90% of the bucks of the season get killed the 3-day muzzleloader hunt, and then there's a few that get killed the remainder of the year. So they absolutely just get wiped out every year on the muzzleloader hunt. and there'll be a few places, you know, some bucks get missed, and it'll sound like a war zone out there, like a somebody may shoot over here at 500 yards, and then you hear the line of the shots coming all the way across as the buck is running across the management area getting shot at. So, like, I personally am not going to step foot in it, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people, there's a lot of high, I guess you would call it high success rate, because there's, you know, few permits, and basically everybody shoots a deer. So it's just a different style of hunting. I would say the traditional scouting and finding bucks, like you can put yourself in a good area, obviously near where bucks laying, high rut activity. You know, the rut's going on during that muzzleloader hunt. You know, scrapes, rubs, a thick area where a buck will hold up middle of the day, because it is a real open management area. You can put yourself in high odds situations. But as far as like traditional scouting and patterning a buck and moving into hunting, I would say that's kind of out the window there, because you're going to have 16 guys walk up on you on that muzzleloader hunt. I mean, there's going to be a guy, it seems like there's a guy every 100 yards up a tree. And then guys walking around, you'll hear when guys get down and the shooting starts again, because they're walking to their truck and spooking bucks. And it's a weird place. So I think your thinking is right on the, you know, they got to leave sign. To answer your question, will they show up? Yes, they'll show up. You'll get, if your cameras are in any kind of decent location between now and October, bucks will be coming through, especially, you know, checking scrapes. That area you talked about where there's a bunch of rubs, there'll probably be a buck or two move into there and tear it up again. You know, sometimes in the swamp, and you know, it's limited swamp, so I know exactly what swamp you're talking about. There are some places in there, especially if they can go up on the private and survive the season. So that'll be where your bigger bucks will get killed, is coming off the private and things like that. But as far as overall, you mentioned the couple other management areas here. I would say for a 70-year-old man, you would probably have higher success learning the other management areas and spending some time in there, outside of finding a few of those for whatever reason. Maybe two guys hunted this area pretty hard the last 3 or 4 years, and now they've moved up to North Florida. They moved out of state or something, and I know that's the case with one particular area. So you may find something like that won't be hunted this year, and you can kind of get in there and have a little 100-acre block to yourself or something. There are going to be some of those areas. So outside of a situation like that, which I think you're thinking the right way. Yeah, I wouldn't dump a bunch of time into that particular management area. I would find thicker management areas, harder, not necessarily harder to access, but maybe even it's nice being 70 years old. You don't have to pay attention to a lot of the quotas, but some of the management areas like that I personally enjoy hunting will be some of the heaviest pressured. Man, you know, if I tell somebody I'm going to hunt here, they laugh like, you're hunting there. But the reason I'm hunting there is because, like, there may be 1,000 guys hunting the management area, but they're all lazy. You know, they're hunting right off the side of a road, or they're sitting on the road watching down the road for a buck to cross the road, and they really don't get archery hunted, and it's thicker, so guys aren't just going out through the deep, thick swamp, and a lot of bucks live. And I mean, I watch bucks die of old age out there every year. Get to watch them go downhill on camera. So, and I don't see that in this other management area, the open management area. They pretty well get wiped out. If a big buck gets killed in there, I hear about it. And I know those 3 days there at the muzzleloader hunt, I can always figure it's hot, and a lot of times people don't have coolers to put their deer in when it's 100 degree, you know, so they're calling me immediately, hey, I just killed one, can I bring it to you? So those days I know I'm going to be taking a few deer in from that area. I generally see the biggest ones, and there'll be some nice ones killed occasionally, but it's not common, and it's low odds. So if you're looking for a big buck, I would look in a one of your other management areas you mentioned, a harder to access, thicker, way, a place that has the terrain a buck can get old in. If you can see a buck for 200 yards any way you look, he's probably not going to live that long. But anyway, thank you for the question. I hope that helped. The next question is from Jace, and he's from Georgia. And I actually talked to this guy today quite a bit, and we'll read the question, but he's definitely on the right track here. It says, "Hey, Mr. Derek, I deer hunted my whole life, but in the past 2 years, my brother and I really started hunting hard and trying to kill mature bucks. Trying to learn how to read maps for bedding areas and where to look and scout, finding trails for deer and scrapes, basically the whole 9 yards. It's kind of hard. We really didn't have anybody to teach us all that stuff, so we've both been learning as we go. We live in South Georgia, all flat land, pine thickets, and big swamps. We use the onX app for mapping and scouting. But my questions are, how do you look at a map and break down to pick where you want to hunt and scout? Finding them right spots to kill mature bucks. I know you said if a management area has walk-in trails and a lot of fire breaks, you don't even hunt them, but 100% of the management areas around here all have that. I was wondering if you could give me a few steps on how to get better with all this. I would like one day to meet you and learn face to face and you could show my brother and me. But thanks for the advice. Have a blessed day. If you want to know more about us, I'll just ask. Thanks once again." So I did reply and talk to him in some detail. He sent me some pins, and I looked over the management areas he was talking about. But my first answer is, he says him and his brother are wanting to target mature bucks. Well, we're just talking about YouTube, since anybody can look it up. Look at anybody in the, say, hard to hunt states, not one of your big buck states. So say Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Arkansas, Louisiana, like the states that are typically a little bit harder to hunt than most of them. Look at the guys that consistently shoot mature bucks. Now, it's not always a Pope and Young or better, but an old deer, like, it could be a 6-year-old 6-point. But look at guys that consistently shoot mature deer, and very few, if any, hunt. I mean, I'm trying to think of how I word that. Some may hunt close to their house because they conveniently live close to where some big bucks are. But for the most part, these guys are traveling, same as I do. I'm going, I'm obviously with the 3-year-old and busy kids and all that. I can't do it the past couple years like I have in the past and like I would like to. But if I was strictly targeting mature bucks, I'm not going to find a mature buck in every management area here around the house. It's not going to happen. And then, for instance, if I did say I went to the closest management area to my house and I scouted my butt off and I found one old buck, which that's about the case. But if I found one old buck, he's old because of what he does. So he's doing something to make him unkillable to the 1,000 guys that are hunting there. So my chances of going in and shooting that buck are very slim. Now, I do like to try that sometimes, and I'm successful sometimes. But Jace here is saying he's only started targeting mature bucks the past 2 years with his brother. So I don't think that giving him the advice of, go buckle down and get on this buck is probably the best advice. I would say if there's any possible way, then I would start traveling a little bit. I would get online and look up, big bucks by county, all kind of different things to kind of see where the bigger bucks are. If I was wanting to shoot, older bucks with big set of horns. if I was just wanting to shoot mature bucks, older bucks, I mean, you can go find an old spike somewhere. But I think what he was getting at is he wants to shoot Pope and Young bucks. So he sent me some pins, and the spot he's been looking at, it's basically, I'm not going to give the management area name, but it's basically 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 management areas that basically border each other. It's one big huge block, but they have different management areas, different quota systems, different dates they open and all that, it's set up really cool. I like how it's set up, and some of the best looking terrain I've looked at in a while. So I think what he's picked out that is conveniently fairly close to his house is going to work out pretty good for him. So it's basically like the river is there's a river that's the backside of the public property, I guess you would say. So there's a highway, and then public property goes back to a river, and some of it is landlocked, like there's houses and stuff along the highway, and the only way to access it is from the river because there's no roads going in through the little strip of private and stuff. So it's like how it lays out, I'll guarantee you will hold some old bucks. It's going to be flat, basically flat swampland. I looked at it on several different maps. It's going to be flat swampland, and it's kind of figure 8 shaped how the swamp lays out, but there's like a bigger section on the north end, a bigger section on the south end, and it's basically, the bigger sections are basically landlocked. So there's a road going into the middle of it, and then a few dead end roads and stuff you can drive, and a couple loop roads and stuff. So I would say, while there could be a big buck up there on the hill where all the roads and the trails and all the walking, hiking trails and fire lanes and all that stuff is, there could be a big buck up there. And I'm sure big bucks get killed up there during the rut. But archery season opening September 13th, just like it does for me here at the house, they're not going to rut till, October 20th, whatever it is. Basically the same as here. I think what I would do if my main goal was to start killing mature bucks, I would take that, like I might go, if I had the time, I would definitely go walk it now. I wouldn't be worried about spooking anything. I would learn every inch of that place. I would just walk and walk and walk, and I know it's hot, but I would take a boat, run in there and walk and walk and walk and learn it all. I would mark every little elevation change. I would mark every thicket. I would really pay attention for white oaks. A lot of times in them flat swamps, I don't think there's any red oaks there. But in them, flat, monotonous swamps like that, a white oak in the right location can be a jam up thing. Jace, you can actually go, if you look up Austin Anderson's episode on the Southern Outdoorsman podcast, he's a white oak hunter, and very, very similar terrain to what I looked at today on the map where you're hunting. You might get some helpful information off of that podcast, so I would check that one out. But mark anything, anything that is different in a monotonous swamp can be good. So obviously while you're walking, keep an eye out for tracks in the mud, old rubs. I would mark everything I could and label it good on onX. So you got your ridges marked, and keep it's going to be swamp that floods during the rainy season and the water levels change. And so if it's, like, say it's shallow now, I don't know what the water depth is now, but when it was shallow, whether that might already be that might be past, it might be shallow in April, I don't know. But when it's shallow, I would go walk it and mark all my shallow spots to cross sloughs, things like that, because that's where the deer are going to cross when it gets deeper. That's where you're going to want to cross when it gets cold, so you ain't going underwater. I would mark out all my access. I would mark my white oaks. I would mark, any trails, any thick areas I could find, and there'll be some type of thick areas in them swamps. And it may be like at a point where two sloughs come together or something like that. There's a little thick patch there. I would mark all of that. And I think it may take you a full season. Like this season, it may get aggravating, it may get frustrating, and you may not be successful. You might see a big buck, you might not. But I think Like once the pre-rut kicks off and you start seeing that mature buck sign, if you've got that, if you know everything in that property, when them rubs start showing up, you'll kind of know where he's coming from, um, and kind of know where you need to set up. So you may not kill him opening week of archery, but you might kill him October 20th. And then next year, you'll have that much more knowledge, and then of the property. And another thing would be like if you're marking everything. So even a month from, if you walked in a month from now, you looked at your maps and kind of zoomed it out a little bit, there'll be some type of pattern there you can see. And at the end of hunting season, if you've marked everything, there'll be a big pattern. Like you can obviously see, well, there's a cluster of something here. What's going on? And I would mark all that, and I would really pay attention. And then I would, as season progresses, I would mark the first time, make note of the first scrape I saw opened up. I would make note of the first rubs I saw and, where they were. I would probably even now stomp through some bedding areas, and I wouldn't mind jumping deer. It wouldn't bother me to jump deer right now. And I mean, that sounds bad, but you're not going to learn it by sitting out on the edge doing a hope and hang. You're going to have to get in there and learn it. A hope and hang. Doing a hang and hope. I would, if you could jump, if you stomping all through it and jump the big buck, obviously mark that, but go see exactly why he was laying there or why he was there. Whether it's thick, it's backed up on a tree, against a tree on the edge of the slough, if he's bedding on the edge of water, whatever the case may be, and get an idea for how the buck's bed in that terrain and in that area. And then as you're going somewhere else, you'll recognize another spot that looks like that and mark that. And before long, you'll have quite a few things marked. And if it's something like I've seen bucks bed right up next to water so in places like we're talking about, where you got to come in by boat, the bucks will bed right on the edge of the water. Especially some of them sloughs are a deeper cut when it's not flooded. So they'll lay right at the top of the bank with their back to the water, looking out over the dry ground. So if you're coming in there in a canoe or boat or whatever, you're blowing them all off the access coming in. So it may be they lay like that, and you got to stop the boat short and walk around, but you're gonna have to figure all that out. I can't tell you exactly how they'll lay, but I can guarantee you there's some big bucks in that piece of property. You just have to get in there and find them. So how the swamp lays out too, they could. I'm not sure what the stem count is or the vegetation, how often it floods, things like that. So if it's kind of open and there's not an abundance of browse, it could be one of the swamps where the deer especially the bucks, spend their daytime out there laying around in thickets and on little dry islands and things like that, where there is a little browse, and then at night they come out to the hills, if you will. So it could be one of them situations too. Also, he said there's a club, like one of the pieces of private along the highway is a hunting club. And if you walk the back side of it, they got big corn piles, and you're hearing rifle shots and guns, in bow season and all that stuff. So they're not doing things completely legal. But that's another plus in my book. That's something I want to see, is because all that means is those guys are, for the most part, more than likely, those guys are really lazy, and they're just hunting right there on their club and shooting deer on corn piles and throwing them on a four-wheeler or side by side and leaving. They're not going off in there, and the mature bucks ain't coming out to them corn piles. So if they're just killing the young deer along the edges, there's some big deer back in there. So I would kind of key in on that almost. I think that's a good thing. Thanks for the question, Jace. That was a good one. I hope that helped. This is Bo from Florida, and he says, "Hey Derek, just wondered, I know you're familiar with this management area, if you knew when bucks started breaking up and shedding velvet, and does the hog hunt in October change their patterns?" Though this would be This will be just a quick answer. I'd have to look back to see exactly when those shed. I don't know. I don't go in there too much, honestly, anymore. Um, I believe it's the last week of September into the first week of October, maybe somewhere along those lines. But I would say the hog hunt doesn't affect anything. A lot of people think it does, but I hunt a lot of management areas that are I still hunt in the dog hunt section. So I mean I got dogs running by me all the time, things like that. And it doesn't affect anything. It may make them, it may change their pattern for a day or two, but there's no hunting going on anyway. You still got a while before the hunt. I wouldn't worry about it at all. I think that's enough for this video. Remember, if you have any questions, just send them in. If you have an idea for a different format for this type of video, you can let me know that too. What I would like to do is get some other guys in here as I can. I know everybody's busy, but get some other guys in here that are good public land hunters to help me out with these questions and get different perspectives. And even some of y'all watching, if you have a good answer for any of these questions, just write it in the comment box and they can go read it. That's it. Remember to send me your questions. Look forward to doing it again. We'll see you on the next one.